Very good evening, Avinash. Welcome to Akshar Online Classes. This is Rafar sir, your physics faculty. Let's start our session. I think in the last class I given some questions to you as a revision for friction chapter. Am I right? Yeah. Today also I will give some more questions for revision purpose. Isn't it? Shall I give? So yeah, the questions are. So I'll give some questions. Before having the questions, I'll ask some questions. Before giving the some numericals, I'll tell some formulas related to that. So what is the formulas here? Friction formula. Tell me general formula for friction. General formula for friction. F is equal to small f is equal to mu into L. This is the general formula for friction. And also we have how many types of frictions? We have three types of frictions. One is static friction. Static friction. What is the formula for static friction? Fs is equal to mu s into L. And similar way, what is the another friction type? Tell me, what is the another friction type? Dynamic friction or sliding friction? Sliding friction. Sliding friction or dynamic friction, that is we can call it as a mu k into L. And third one is rolling friction. Rolling friction, that is Fr is equal to mu r into L. So these are the types of frictions. Now let's do some problems based on these types of friction, isn't it? Shall I give some questions here? Now this is a object. Example 1 I am giving now. In that example, this is a object. This is the object, and this object is placed on the rough surface. Object is placed on the rough surface. And the object is placed on the rough surface, and the mass of this object is 5 kg. Mass of the object is 5 kg, and the coefficient of static friction is 0.2. Coefficient of static friction is 0.2, and mass of the object is 5 kg. Now first question is find the maximum friction. Find the maximum friction. The maximum friction is known as limiting friction here. Tell me, find out maximum friction. What is the formula we should use to find the maximum friction or to find the static friction? Tell me the static friction value. Maximum friction is nothing but static friction here. How much is the static friction? How much is the maximum static friction? The object and the object by yeah, we have to use the formula. This is a formula. We have to use the formula. What formula? This Fs is equal to mu into N. Look at here, as mg is acting downward direction, normal reaction acts upward direction. The normal reaction acts, then we can find maximum static friction Fs is equal to mu s into N. Mu s value already mentioned, that is 0.2 into what is the normal reaction? Normal reaction is equal to mg. Normal reaction is equal to how much? Mg. So you can apply m value is 5. What is the value of g? What is the value of g on the earth surface? The value, small g value is 9.8 or 10 we can take. But here I will take 10 here. So finally 0.2 into 5 into 10. So completely how much? 10 10 into 2 is 10 into 2 is how much? 10 into 0.2 is 2 and it is 5. So again it will become 10. Understand? 10 Newton. So static friction is how much? 10 Newton. Maximum static friction is 10 Newton. And one more question also I can ask. If a force act on the body, act on the object, if force act on the object is 10 newtons, what is the net force? What is the net force on the object? Net force acting on the object. Tell me, what is the net force acting on the object? Here, how much is the force is acting on the object? How much is the force is acting on the object? 10 Newton force is acting on the object in this direction. Now, he is asking to find a net force. What is mean by net force? Solution here. Net force means sum of the forces. Sum of the forces is known as net force, F1 plus F2. How many forces are acting on the body? Along the horizontal direction, 2 forces are acting. So the net force become F1 plus F2. But here, one force is 10 Newton, but on this body due to friction also acting this direction, that is also 10 Newton. So finally, F net would be F is equal to F1 is 10 acting positive direction. You can take this is a positive direction 10. Next, minus 10 totally 0. So what is the net force? 0. Now when it is the net force is 0. How much is the acceleration of the body? How much is the acceleration of the body? According to Newton's second law, net force means, according to Newton's second law, net force means mass into acceleration. Then net force is 0, so that acceleration is 0. The object not having any acceleration. So that is your answer. Understand? Take this. Next, in the same problem, one more question also. If applied force is if applied force is 12 Newton, find net force acting on the object. Find the net force acting on the object. Tell me. Find the net force acting on the object. Tell me quickly. So how do you solve the net force? What is meant by net force? Net force means sum of the forces. How many forces are acting on this body? You know here now it is 12 Newton. 12 Newton is acting. When 12 Newton is acting, again 2 forces along the horizontal direction. That is F1 plus F2, and F net is equal to F1 is 12 minus F2 is how much? F2 is nothing but friction force acting on the body. So totally, what is the net force here? Totally 2 Newton. 2 Newton is a force. When this is a 2 Newton, so what is the acceleration of the body? The acceleration of the body by using the net force is equal to ma, then a is equal to net force upon mass. Net force is 2, mass is 5. So to how much it is? 0.4 meter per second square is your acceleration. Understand? 0.4 meter per second square is the acceleration. Understand? Note down. Next, I'll go for the next question. Yeah, I'll go for the next question. One more. A object is present on the surface, on the rough surface, and coefficient of kinetic friction is 0.1. Coefficient of kinetic friction is 0.1, and the object is sliding, but the object mass is 10 kg. Object is sliding, object mass is 10 kg, and we are asking to find what? Friction, kinetic friction acting on the body, because it is sliding. So my question is here what? Kinetic friction acting on the body. Kinetic friction acting on the body. Tell me, what is the kinetic friction acting on the body? What is the kinetic friction acting on? Yeah, tell me. Again, same formula. What is the formula here? Kinetic friction is equal to mu k is equal to, Fk is equal to mu k into normal reaction. Fk is equal to, what is mu k here? 0.1. What is the normal reaction? Normal reaction would be upward direction, that is here also normal reaction is equal to mg. So when it is normal reaction is equal to mg would be 10, and acceleration due to gravity also you can take 10. So finally Fk is how much? Fk is, tell me how much? What is 10 Newton? Understand? So kinetic friction is what? 10 Newton. Find out. Now observe that, say here on this body, sliding on this body, 15 Newton is active. Okay, because of the 15 Newton, the body is in sliding motion. When it's sliding motion, what is the acceleration of the body? What is the acceleration of the body? So how do you find the acceleration of the body? To find the acceleration, we have to find the acceleration, we have to find the net force. Net force is equal to F1 bar plus F2 bar. F1 is how much, 15. F2 is how much? 10 Newton. So totally 5 Newton is the net force. By using the by using the net force of 5 Newtons, we can find the acceleration. But acceleration is equal to force per mass. Force value is, net force value is 5 Newton. Mass value is 10 kg. So acceleration is equal to how much, 0.5 meter per second square. Object is moving with what speed? What acceleration? 0.5 meter per second square. When the object is moving with 0.5 meter per second square, one more question in that, after 10 seconds, distance traveled by the body. Distance traveled by the object. Distance traveled by the object. Tell me what is the distance traveled by the object after 10 seconds. So to find that we have to use equations of motion, that is S is equal to ut plus half at square, distance traveled by the body after 10 seconds, initial velocity is 0, so this term is 0, plus half acceleration is moving with this acceleration, so that is 0.5 into 10 square, because we are asking to find after 10 seconds. Then S is equal to half, you can write this 0.5 as 5 by 10 into 10 into 10. This 10 square you can write 10 into 10. Here 10, this 10 gets cancelled. Remaining thing is 2 ones are 2 5s are. So this 5 and this 5 are multiplying, so that is 25 meters. After 10 seconds, the object will move, object cover 25 meter distance with this acceleration when you applied 15 newtons force on the object, when it is friction acting 10 newton. When friction is acting 10 newton on the body, so it is when you apply 15 newtons, so this is your acceleration and this is your distance covered by the body. Note down. Completed? One more question I'll give. A object having 20 kg and here it is on the rough surface, coefficient of static friction is 0.3, coefficient of static friction is 0.3. Now what is limiting friction? Find out limiting friction. Maximum static friction is known as limiting friction. Find out. So what is the limiting friction formula? Limiting friction is mu s into n. Mu s value is 0.3. N value is mg is acting up downward, normal reaction acting upward. N is equal to mg. So m value is 20. G value is 10, as you know. So 3 into 20, that is 60 Newton. The maximum limiting friction is how much? 60 Newton. When the maximum limiting friction is 60 Newton, now I applied on this body 30 Newton force. Okay, I applied, how much is the force? 30 Newton force. When 30 Newton force acting on the body is 20 kg, the coefficient of friction is 0.3, then what is the friction value? So here question is, what is the, first of all, is the object slide? Is the object slide? Is the first question. Is the object slide? Yes or no? Is it slide or not?
Yes.
Here, maximum friction force is how much? Maximum friction force acting on the body is how much? How much? 60 newtons. By applied force is how much? 30 newton. Is the 30 newtons will overcome the 60 newton? Is the 30 newtons will overcome the 60 newton?
Yes, sir.
Is 30 newton force is acting this direction?
Yes.
30 newton force acting negative direction? 60 newton acting negative direction, 30 newton acting right direction. Now my question is the object will slide or not? The object will not slide because this 30 Newton force cannot overcome the 60 Newton force of the friction. So that the friction is, it will not overcome. When it is not overcome, the body cannot move. When the body is not moving, that it is showing that net force acting on the body is 0. Net force is acting on the body is 0 when how much applied force is happened, same amount of the friction is must be act opposite direction, so the object is at a rest position, which means that the friction is adjusted to the 30 Newton force. So when the first question here, in this question is the object move means is the object slide, means answer is what? No, the object is cannot slide. No, object cannot slide. That is the answer for the question. What is the reasons here? Reasons are 30 Newton force is not overcome the 60 Newton of friction, so object will not slide. That is the answer, and that is the explanation. And one more question I will ask: how much is the value of friction? How much is the value of friction? Value of friction. How much is the value of friction? The value of friction, if you observe that when the 30 Newton force is acting on applied force and 60 Newton is acting this direction, but here when the object is at rest position, net force acting on the body is 0. The net force acting on the body is 0 when other direction 30 Newton force act. When the other direction 30 Newton force act, then only the net force becomes 0. So what is the thing here? The friction is adjusted to the 30 Newton. So answer is for what? Friction force. Friction force is 30 Newton, because in this case the friction is adjusted to the 30 Newton, even though it is applied maximum friction force is 60 Newton. This is a maximum friction force is 60 Newton, but even though it is adjusted to what value? 30 Newton value, because it is a self-adjusting friction. Static friction is a self-adjusting friction. So here the friction is adjusted to 30 Newton. And the similar problem in the same case, if the friction applied applied force is 50 Newton, even though applied force is 50 Newton, this 50 Newton is not overcoming the 60 Newton force. So, but here what going to be happen? Friction is adjusted to what value? Friction is adjusted again here 50 Newton. But suppose if you apply 60 Newton force here, if you apply 60 Newton force, in this case also the friction is adjusted to 60, so the object is at remain straight. But if you apply more than 60, that is assume that 70. In this case the object starts sliding, because on this object net force would be 70 minus 60 up to 60 Newton. The friction will adjusted. Beyond that friction cannot adjusted. So the 70 minus 60, 10 Newton is the resultant force. That resultant force move the object with some acceleration. This is how the frictions are acting, and this is how the frictions values. Understand? Note down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now I will give one more problem to you. This is object. This is object. Now this is a rough surface. When this is a rough surface, the object is sliding and having mass m. The object is sliding. Free body diagram of this object I want. free body diagram. I am asking question 1 is FBD of the situation. Free body diagram of the situation is my question. How many forces are acting? The object is on the rough surface and sliding horizontally, and it has coefficient of friction is mu. Coefficient of friction is mu, which means that it is indicating that it is a rough surface. On the rough surface, the object is sliding in this direction. Now they are asking to draw free body diagram. The free body diagram of this question, this one is, let us imagine this is an object. On this object, weight will act always downward direction, that is one more force. So but in this direction, normal reaction will act due to the surface. Now along this direction, applied force is acting, that is the reason the object is sliding, and along this direction one more force is acting, that is friction force. It is applied by the surface. This is a free body diagram of the object. Okay. Now in this case, if mu value is 0.1, mass value is 5 kg, mass value is, no, you can take 7 kg, find friction, find friction value, find a friction value, find a friction value. So again, to find the friction value E, we have to use the formula for friction, mu into N. What is mu value? 0.1. What is N value? N value we can use N is equal to mg. When it is N is equal to mg, M value already mentioned, that is 7, and G value is what is the G value on the earth surface? G value on the earth surface is 10 or 9.8. Finally 7 Newton is the friction force. Okay, now done. Newton is the friction force. Yeah. Now one more question is the what type of friction? What type of friction it is? What type of friction? Is it what type of friction? Tell me. Tell me it is what kind of friction? Kinetic or static or rolling? Which one it is? Kinetic or static or rolling? Which one it is? Kinetic or static or rolling? How? Why kinetic? The object is sliding on the surfaces. And the object is sliding on the surfaces. You will get the kind of friction acting on the body is sliding friction or kinetic friction. Understand? So type of friction is what? Sliding or kinetic friction. Sliding or kinetic friction. Now in the same problem, if mu s value is 0.2, find the static friction for the same problem. What is the formula for static friction here? Formula for Fs is equal to mu s into n. Fs is equal to mu s value is 0.2, n value is 7 into 10. So finally 2 into 7, which is equal to 40 Newton. Understand? Now in this case, if the applied force is 10 Newton, now applied force is 10 Newton, is the object will move? Is the object move? Is the object move here? Maximum static friction is how much? 14. But applied force is what?
10 Newton.
Is this 10 Newton will overcome this 14 Newton friction? So answer is what? Not move. When it is not move, how much is the value of friction? Value of friction.
14 Newton.
How much is the value of friction? The value of friction is adjusted to how many newtons?
14 Newton.
10 Newton. Because in this case what? This 10 Newton is friction is also adjusted to 10 Newtons. So opposite direction 10 Newton, 20 Newton is acting. So net force is 0. So the value of the friction force is what? 10 Newton. If you apply more than 14, the object will slide. Otherwise, the object will not slide. Yes. Next, I'll give last question. Mu s value is 0.4, mu k value is 0.2. Find acceleration value, minimum acceleration of value. Find minimum acceleration. Minimum acceleration value. Find minimum acceleration value. Tell me, find minimum acceleration value. Mass here, let us wait, let me give the mass. M you can take. You can take M. I am asking to find minimum acceleration value. So here, to find the minimum acceleration, we need to observe that free body diagram. First, we need to see free body diagram. So here, to move here, how much is the applied force must be? The applied force must be what? The applied force must be how much? We need to give the maximum static friction. Maximum static friction is the value, and here when it is start sliding, what friction will act? Kinetic friction will act. So maximum static friction is this direction, kinetic friction is this direction. Net force acting on the body is Fs minus Fk. It would be mu Sn minus mu Kn. Next, F net value is mass into acceleration. Mu n, if you take common, mu s minus mu k. Ma, what is the value of n here? Mg, mu s minus mu k. So finally, Ma is equal to m of mu s minus mu k. Gets cancelled, into G also present. A is equal to mu s value is 0.4, mu k value 0.2 into 10. So finally 0.2 into 10. So A is equal to 0.2 into 10 is 2 meter per second square is your acceleration, minimum acceleration for the body. So this is the topic for today. Note down this one. This is a somewhat fundamentals for the friction. In next class we'll discuss light chapter. Okay na? For today we'll stop the session. Understand?